So there's
Shiba?
no inflation occurring on either of the coins, and there's two burning mechanisms. So both coins are deflationary by logic. It's both of them have their own burning mechanism. One is on the network, the other one is on the DApp. Does that clear it up, Joseph? Because
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah,
It does. It does. It does.
they both have two different burning mechanisms, and the way that Binance will burn is the same way that Pulse Chain would burn on any transaction that occurs on the network. So NFTs, anything that has a transactional
Yeah,
cost to
yeah.
hit Pulse Chain is that transaction. When you go like if you go on the testnet currently, I know it's not the same, but you could still see it burns. So there's in the transactions in the TXN, there's the you go in more when you look at the gas fees, and it tells you how much it burns. And currently, the deflation of ETH, even with the bear market and a low transaction, which it's currently at, if you go check on the charts in on EtherScan, it's gonna take us 100 years to burn 30% of the supply, which is fucking phenomenal. And that's only at the current rate that we're doing it. Just
Is
understand that we
is
could double and triple those transactions if we even remotely get just a bit more adoption. There's also another, not tokenomics, but there's a game theory in this where people were like saying that, every time they're gonna wait to for the pulse burn to load up, and then they'll click the button, to get maximum payout. But the thing is that the more times you click it, the more pulse you'll burn. You burn the same amount of Pulsex, and sometimes you might burn it at a different price. And then it actually DCAs its way in. And at the same time, too, you create more transactions where more pulse gets burned because the transaction is the same cost. So it burns technically the same amount. Plus, if there's that
Yeah,
Zen 2, like that shit'll just burn pulse chain like nothing.
over time, in theory, Ethereum and Pulse Chain will be deflationary, but there's still some issuance coming out every day. I guess that was my point.
But Pulse Chain does not inflate because right now it's inflating due to what happened in the past. It's not inflating due to what's happening now. That's what people need to understand. So it's not inflationary. It doesn't continue its inflation. Yes, the inflation is still occurring, but from what I understand, there's no more inflation. That's why there won't be any inflation.
Yeah, yeah. To my knowledge, it's a balancing act between the burning and then the issuance, and then that determines whether it's inflationary or deflationary at any given time. And in theory, Ethereum will adjust this and make it deflationary, and Pulse Chain even more so because of the tokenomics that Richard is doing, making it slightly more set to deflate over time, as opposed to Ethereum. He's basically copy and pasting it and making it a little bit better. So it's just a balancing act there between the issuance and the burning that determines whether it's inflationary or not. But the moral of the story is that if you buy Pulsex and Pulse Chain early, number go up. It will go up in value, both from people buying and then also from the tokenomics of the coin over a long period of time. They're both great buys. That's the point.
well, y'all having a great conversation, man. I'm sitting here just thinking on what y'all was just talking about, right? And then I'm thinking about liquid loans and the fact that that project will actually pay you out in USDL, and it'll pay you out in PLS. So I'm like, man, that's a good look right there.
Yeah, just be careful, man. Make sure that you get the Richard Hart tokens, like Pulse, PulseX, PX. Don't get. I mean, those are the main tokens. I mean, those other things are great, but make sure that you have a good bag of the Richard Hart tokens
Oh yeah,
first,
yeah,
because
yeah,
you know
yeah,
that
yeah,
they're going
yeah,
to
yeah,
succeed.
yeah, exactly.
But you
Yeah,
sacked, right? So
exactly.
you're good.
Yeah, exactly. I sat PLS and heck and I'm sorry, and PLSX, and then I'm hoping to grab PHEX. I'm looking to grab PHEX when the door opens.
Yeah, a
So
good strategy would be to when you single side stake, or when you whenever you get the incentive token, if you're going to do that. I'm not saying you should, but if you're going to use the liquidity pairs that they're going to have, you could dump that incentive token and put it for PX. That's what I'm going to do.
okay, yeah. So I got to get some PHEX up there. Then I'm looking at once I actually establish what is yield, what is profit, just kind of rolling that rolling that over into a new wallet, and then taking 20% of that and then staking that in PHEX. So I really don't care what the price is. I just care that 20% of what's made goes into PHEX, and kind of go into a staking pool to get paid out in a year, right? But I might, but I got a ladder all the way through whatever year.
No, you got a good strategy, man. Also, I don't know if you have hex stakes, but every time your hex stakes come out, you could also like,
Yeah, I got that. So my thing is, that's like 3 years. So I'm like, man, we're in a bear market. Let it ride for for 3 years. They give you the opportunity to make another decision on how you want to restake it. But then at some point in time, I'm trying to get everything organized where it is paying, like every year is a different payout.
Right, right. Yeah, no, that's smart and stuff. Like
Yeah,
another thing you can do is you
eventually.
can sorry, you can use your hex, you could restake your principal and then put the interest in your pocket and put that towards P hex too. I don't know what your staking ladder looks like, but you could also do that as well. That's another strategy that you can do. Um,
Nah,
you know,
no, understood. It's gonna be interesting, man. It's gonna be interesting. But when
you
I'm
got a
able
good
to
game
kind of,
plan.
yeah, I just want to see it in action, man. So it's like I've been waiting on this V3 to kind of like just set everything up and then see exactly how it makes money based on everybody's behavior. Like, people gonna be taking loans out. Some people, believes that leverage is a good position to buy more. It's almost like if you want to buy your profit, you can go out there, you can buy that. And if it's profitable, why not take a loan out? So a lot of people are going to be doing that. I was seeing some tokenomics where it was like, I think it's called like the Haunted strategy. It's like every single time your value goes up, you take another loan. Every time your value goes up, you take another loan. And what you're betting is that you're going to transition your yield. So by the time you would have had $1 million a year, you would have like close to 4 million.
Yeah, man. Just be careful, man. Just be careful because loans is ladies liquor leverage, like Richard says.
Oh
So just be
yeah.
careful.
But if you own the lending protocol, you're getting paid on the fee. You see what I'm saying?
Correct. Yeah. There's
Like
always going to be people who take
exactly.
out leverage. There's always
Of
going to be
course,
people who take
of
out
course,
leverage.
of course. I just
So
want to make money at it. It's like, hey man, if you want to come get a loan, I give you a loan. I give
yeah,
you
it's
one.
similar to owning the bank, basically.
Exactly. I just think that, man, this is crazy. It's almost like if you could have done Ethereum again, it probably would have looked more like what we're about to do.
Yeah, I mean, just keep in mind though, like bugs in code, they happen. Like they just do. I mean, look at the Hedron thing that happened and the poly thing with it happens. Like it's not that it's like malicious intent or anything. It's just like when you have a project, sometimes bugs happen and sometimes things happen, so things can go wrong too.
Yeah.
So just make sure that you're managing your risk properly too.
Nah, understood. I think some of that for me, man, is going to be. I'll tell you in 2 to 5 years. If I found a mistake or not. I just hope that in 2 to 5 years I'm making money at it. Cause this my first go around, man. So I'm
Oh, you
learning
will.
from y'all.
Right. You will make money with
Learning
it.
from y'all.
If you keep the solid tokens in the ecosystem that Richard likes, if he likes it, it's probably going to do well. If he doesn't like it, he can do some things to make it not run well. Let's just put it that way. So I would just say if you stack those good tokens that he likes or even he made, you'll be doing real well.
Yep, exactly. So we'll see. We'll see, man. I'm excited for it. Especially being able to get in on PHEX, man, at the ground floor. I'm like, hey, at the end of the day, if I can grab PHEX for a better deal than I got my EHEX for, that's a win-win. That's a win-win-win right there. So I'm looking at hopefully getting a really good deal on PHEX, be able to kind of start with a bigger bag and then seeing how that ride too. And then I heard that maybe one day PHEX would be a product where folks can take loans out, take loans out on. So I didn't get into that project, but I'm like, God dang, I missed that opportunity because a lot of people gonna be trying to take loans out on their head. It's like, shucks, man, get paid from that too.
Yeah, us Hexicans, I want to see us like succeed, and the people who are paying attention now when everybody else is doubting us, like I want us to succeed and make sure that we're not putting ourselves at too much of degen risk. Now I'm a degen, but it's a little bit of a you gotta manage properly. You know what I mean? You got to make sure that you're
Oh,
holding the main assets, and then if you want to funnel into famous liquid loans, these other things that are supposed to help X, that's cool too. But they're not guaranteed to succeed, sort of thing. You know what I mean? Like they're not.
right. Look. I totally agree with you. And it's just like the Hexicans, right? You got a lot of Hexicans that's gonna say, "Hey, man, I don't want to pay tax." Everybody out here in the crypto chats, man, from on a majority level, most people are trying to figure out how not to pay taxes or how to get their capital gains income tax down, right? Because it's a capital gain, and they're going to go take a loan out. They're going to go take a loan out because they want to exit the system and pay zero tax. Instead of creating a passive income. They're going to go take a loan out. Hey, that actually helps the community in a way because they're not selling their head, right? So it's not like they're exiting by having a dump on somebody's head. They just exiting through a loan, through a stablecoin loan or something like that. That's not a bad deal. And then if you can get paid on that transaction fee, man, that's icing on the cake.
Yeah, I mean, you could even argue that Hedron, to an extent, to a certain extent, is sort of leverage in a way because you're providing liquidity for your hex stakes. So it's like, to a certain degree, it's a little bit of leverage. It's kind of messing around with the liquidity of hex that's staked, and that did really well. I mean, as we saw earlier this
Right,
year,
right,
Hedron did some
right.
crazy multiples. So yeah,
Hey,
definitely.
Hadron's still doing good.
It's getting hit a little bit hard right now, but a lot harder than I expected it to. But yeah, I think it'll long term it'll do well.
Yeah. Because I look at it like, okay, I got my Hadron printing Icosa, then I got my Icosa printing Icosa and Hadron, right? So I think I put in like what 1,500. I'm already up above what I put in. I'm already up. So I look at it like, man, I wonder what this thing gonna be printing. On a yearly basis. I wonder what it's gonna print.
Yeah, I mean it just depends.
Yeah. Exactly. So it can go either way. One year it might print 5,000 for you. The next year it might print 10,000 for you.
Yeah, I mean in general, whenever Hedron releases the HSI stakes, that's usually probably you could probably or when it gets close to that, you could probably consider that like a bullish event for it, where people are going to be buying up Hedron and stuff like that. So that could be a nice way to know how the price action would move on average. But the last HSI stakes was a little disappointing in terms of the price because of everything that was happening with the people. That one guy wasn't getting paid out because there was a bug in the code, and then Alex was basically like, "Fuck, like I have to, say something about it." So, um,
I, I didn't even know that occurred, man. I just been looking at
yeah,
my stakes. I'm not even active in a Hadron community. They don't
yeah.
have too many like I don't think they ever had a spaces at all to talk.
Well, Alex was doing a lot of marketing for it and stuff like that, but in terms of, I mean, you could argue that he probably should have been doing a lot more coding than marketing at the time because of the bug that came out. But yeah, no, it's important to be honest about that stuff because it did happen. I mean, and it's not really his. I mean, bugs happen. It just is what it is. Like things happen
Oh, of
in
course.
code, and things happen with different projects and stuff. Like especially new projects like that where they're doing new and different ideas. That doesn't mean that Hedron is not valuable. It just means that it was really the first go around at it, and the mistake
So
can be
they're able
fixed.
to fix the bug, right?
To my understanding, yeah, yep. From what I've
Okay.
heard, yes,
We're,
yeah.
and they still haven't fixed it, but they're fixing it, then, right?
I don't know. I don't know if they have or but they're either fixing it and apparently it's fixable. Yeah,
Well, okay, well that's good news then. So and then hopefully it actually does better on post because they still got to release it on post.
right. And that's when it's really going to be like really. That's when it's important. It's actually better to have a like to figure out the kinks and the bugs now before Pulse Chain launches than if it happened on Pulse Chain and then it was this whole. You know what I mean? So it's not a bad thing.
Exactly. Yeah, or either it was a bug that was on the Ethereum side and you didn't even figure it out until post chain. Then it's like I got it on two chain. So that sounds like good news to me.
No, it is. Yeah, they're working out the kinks now with it, so that's good.
Yeah. So if somebody didn't get paid out, that's kind of messed up, right? And then hopefully they can get that corrected, yeah.
Right, but like I'm saying, like I keep saying, Hedron wasn't a Richard Hart token. Now he likes it and stuff like that, but it's not made by Richard. It's made by Alex. So it's not, you know what I mean? Like whenever you invest in this
Oh,
thing
correct,
that,
correct,
you know what I
correct.
mean? It's not, it's a little bit more risky when you're putting money into things that aren't made by Richard. That is true. But that doesn't mean they're not valuable. It doesn't mean they won't pump. Hedron will pump again, I believe. But you know, in terms of your risk management, you just have to keep that in mind. You know, the main Richard Hart tokens is what I'm acquiring personally. That's what I'm focused on. And then the other stuff is cool too. But
Fortunately, by
And
acquiring those main Richard Hart tokens, you get the other stuff for free.
yeah, that's also true as well. But I'm talking in terms of putting new capital into them. That's what I mean by that.
oh yeah, 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 for sure. For sure.
No, yeah, if you
You
get free
know,
tokens, I mean nobody's complaining about that. But I
right,
mean in terms of like
exactly.
where you're focused on like DCAing your positions in when it
Yeah.
launches. Yeah.
Yeah, what I like about a lot of these projects. Not not a lot, because I'm in a small few projects outside of the Richard Hart ecosystem. So I'm in a few. But what I like about them is that for me, when I look at the fit, whether I look at Pulsex or I look at PLS or I look at PHEX, I see the fit where in a bull market that people would dump more money in these places as they pick up all the other crap coin, all the crap coins, because people put their money everywhere in a freaking bull market. Look at the meme coins. People waking up freaking 40. They put $4,500 and they wake up they're 105 million. Stupid type stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, the way you can think about it too is like you can look at like what did other L1s do last bull market? Well, look at what Cardano did. Cardano did
Exactly.
pretty good multiples. AVAX did good multiples. Phantom did good multiples. All these coins, if you got in really early, you made some crazy multiples on your money. And with Pulse Chain, now we have a community here that's already established. It's probably the best community in crypto, or one of them. You know what I mean? It's probably the best community in crypto in terms of like them paying attention and liking the ecosystem and stuff. So the investors are already there. There's increasing amount of investors every day. And then on top of that, we already have a leader that's established in the space. And whether people trust him or not, they know that they can make money with that ecosystem. So we have an advantage in terms of like how many people would probably be comfortable moving into this project to either make money or to hold long term. So that's the best way to put it. I mean, Cardano did an 100x without anything built on it. So
I
like,
know,
you
right?
know,
Yeah, yeah,
that's
yeah.
the
I
best
know.
way to make it like a conservative estimate to how much money you can make with this chain. And that's like conservative, you know, because like I said, Pulse Chain has advantages over these other chains. Now
Right.
Charles, he was a Ethereum founder, so he had an advantage as well. But there were other chains that didn't, like AVAX. Look at what AVAX did. AVAX had to start from the ground up. We already have a head start, you know.
Exactly. And we got all the PRT 20. And that was exciting to me because I was like, okay, what would it take in a bull market for, say, Post to be, in the top, I say top 20, right? I'm not even going top 10, top 5, but top 20. And I'm like, is going to be the number of projects, the type of projects, the quality of the projects, but then also, is going to be the potential of all of those PLS 20s that need front end where people can bring their communities over. Hey, I want to do a retry over here, or I want to expand
Right.
over here. And then they come over, and they probably don't want to hear what we got to say, right? They just want to do their little game that they've been playing, and PLS get to use, get the fee, the transaction fee. So we all winning. And then they hopefully they use PLSA, right? Because technically they can use their own wallet. I mean they can use MetaMask for the trade or their wallet for the trade. But hopefully they use PLSA. That helps.
Yeah, I mean, typically what happens is once Bitcoin and Ethereum gain confidence, and like I'm not saying Pulse Chain can't move against the market, but in terms of like the bull market, once Bitcoin goes above the 200-week moving average, typically that gives confidence to the alts, and then that money, the Bitcoin Ethereum money, start to funnel into alts. And what do people do? They try to look for the next best thing. They try to look for the
Right.
thing that can make the multiples in order to give them Bitcoin and Ethereum. Pulse Chain is going to probably be the head start for the L1 token, the new ones that are launching. And probably I'd assume a lot of that money is going to go into Pulsechain along with other ecosystems that people think can make them good multiples, especially if Pulsechain comes out and it's like there's no problems with it and there's not any issues, and
Right. Right.
so that's another thing too, is like not only are the hexagons going to be in it, but also degens are going to go into it, and also like ETH royalties probably going to they're going to take a shot at it, but we're going to be early because we're going to buy earlier than them. So it just kind of works like that.
Oh wow, yeah. That's well said. Well said.
Yeah, man. People are missing the mark on this. Like, people don't realize. Like, the maxis think that Richard's gonna like run away with the sacrifice money, even though like it's verified that he, donated them to charity and people confirmed, and like they're still on that. They're still thinking that. That's what they're trying to fud it out and stuff. But basically, like what that means for us is that, well, we're going to be ahead of the game, because a lot of people are going to be like, they're like, is it coming out? We'll see if it launches. We'll see if it's safe. By that time, we're already in. So we're already into the game. We're already convicted in, our investment. And so from there on out, it's just straight on profit as the chain succeeds and as more people want to get in to make a quick buck. So,
Yeah, I was saying the only thing that I'm saying I believe is missing from from an ecosystem. Like, one thing that I would love to own on Post is like an insurance, a DeFi protocol for like crypto insurance. Because if you got a bag, you want to make sure you got the insurance for it. And I'm like, okay, that makes sense. Definitely, looking at something like that, but just got to understand it a little bit more, especially if it's worth it. If you got money, you want to make sure that's protected. But I would definitely be interested in that opportunity, especially if the team that put it together actually, understood, how to really accomplish such a protocol.
Yeah, man, you're in the right space. If you're trying to make money, you're in the right place. I mean, I don't see any other opportunity that's out right now that would give you the same amount of upside as opposed to Pulsechain. Now, will there be other coins like that do crazy multiples and stuff? Sure, there will be. Of course, there will be. There's always going to be other chains that perform well compared to Bitcoin and Ethereum too. But as of right now, this is the best opportunity, and very few people are paying attention to it closely like we are. So.
Posted one of Alex's recent posts, speaking of Hedron, and intrinsically how it is hex-centric.
Yeah, that's pretty good. What is he? He's saying that it makes. Oh yeah, right. Yes, he's basically just explaining how Hedron works, right?
Yeah, he's going over it. As you said, he's making some marketing efforts. He seems to be doing an extensive job these days on Twitter. He was always a very good tweeter, but he's seems to be making more of an effort these days.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. No, I like Hedron. I'm bullish on it long term. I think it will succeed. I think there's a lot of utility to it, and it's going to help Hex. And if it helps Hex, Richard's going to like it, right? So.
Yeah, I mean, I think he does. It's just, you can't really be like, yeah, it's the best and, stand behind it. But it is true. I think the first project he ever mentioned that was not his. So that's quite a nod.
Right. Yeah. I mean, because at the end of the day, it incentivizes people to lock their Hex up, which is what Richard likes. So I think it's going to do well.
Yeah, you can involve yourself with Hedron without Hex. So yeah, and I'm kind of impressed with how quickly they responded to the code issue.
Yeah. Well, to be honest with you, man, I think it might have been possible that Alex probably knew a couple months back, and then he realized that at some point he was like, "Fuck, I gotta say it. I gotta tell people," sort of thing. He was probably trying to fix it. He was probably trying to figure it out. But then there was a certain point where maybe he had to tell people because it wasn't getting paid out. So
well, was it until like the Poly thing kind of like
right.
exposed it, sort of, and it was like, oh, whoops, like, oh well, and then everyone pointing fingers at Tipcatcher and Maximus, but like I'm kind of impressed. Like, it wasn't intentional, and they responded very quickly, and like they were very open about it.
No, I agree. Yeah, I mean, like I said, guys, bugs in code happen. Like it does. It just happens. Like it is what it is.
Or oversights, or just like he didn't like anticipate a certain. Yeah, I mean, it's so complicated to say the least. But
yeah.
Regardless of how easy Dipcatcher makes it look, Wiley streams with his glasses on.
Right. Yeah, and then like the other thing that I've been hearing a lot is like, oh well, if Pulsechain comes out, and kind of speaking on the Hedron thing, like if Pulsechain comes out and then everything's over on that side, then what's the purpose of having eHex? And like I'm under the assumption that it's like, listen guys, like at the end of the day, all the money that's funneled is going to come back into eHex. Like it's going to come back into Hex, and eHex is going to be just fine. It's just that Pulsechain is just going to give. It's just going to be a new chain that has less dilution, less congestion, and it's going to be a way for a new chain to evolve slowly over time that allows you. But it doesn't mean that eHex is going to be gone. That doesn't mean that at all. Now if Ethereum messes up and something happens, cool, we have Pulsechain, but I don't think that Pulsechain being launched means that eHex is going to go like down or like the other things.
No way. You know what
I mean? Like
there are so many 15-year stakers and so many people entrenched in the system, and then I mean with the evolution of Pulsechain, it's going to just increase the popularity of just the name Hex for people that don't know of it yet, and they're not going to know Pulsechain first or know how to get there necessarily right away. So
right.
Plus, I kind of look at it like this. When folks say that, I understand why they say that, right? They got an opportunity at Hex on a new chain at a cheaper price, and they just look at the history of Hex on Ethereum with potentially the same amount of buyers, right? The same amount of buyers all coming in on a product, at the same time or whatever the case may be. Uh, but what they forget is that, hey, look at all of these centralized tokens that are just going belly up. Everything FTX. I got a buddy that was on Facebook talking about how he'll never put money in crypto again because he lost a boatload of money in FTX. And I feel for a person like that to scream something like that over social media. And I'm hoping that they actually find products on Ethereum like Hex, where they say, you know what, at the end of the day, it makes sense for me to try this because I'm not going to give it to Coinbase after I lost it from FTX. It's like, are you next? I don't know. So what I'm hoping is that they find, like a product like Hex on Ethereum. See, people don't think about in the next bull market how Hex on Ethereum may do potentially a lot better because it has more, it's reached more people, and you still got people that don't own it. That's like, maybe I should buy it, but you know what? It is a bear market, so I'm not really 100% sure about buying anything, right? And then they're thinking that the price is going to go lower, the price is going to go lower, the price is going to go lower. But in a bull market, they may put $5,000 in Hex.
Yeah, I mean, just being realistic, it's like, will Hex do another 10,000x next bull market? Probably not. Like eHex, it probably won't. You know what I mean? Like it's not going to. I mean, could it do an 100x between 100 and 1,000? It could. It possibly could. But as a like, it's the law of big numbers. So it's like, if the law of big numbers is real, it means that basically the bigger something gets, the harder it is to move. And so just naturally, it's like, it's not going to do the same thing that it did in the last bull market, most likely, but it's still going to do like quite a lot of multiples and outpace everything on that side as well. Whereas Pulsechain and these things, they can do those multiples. They definitely can. So, but people will like invest back into Hex. Even some of the Pulsechain profits, maybe they'll put some of the Pulsechain profits that they make and move it back into eHex because they think that's more safe because it's on Ethereum. So I don't think that that's like a legit concern. Like people think they're just going to abandon regular Hex. Yeah, it's kind of, they're just trying to FUD it out basically. A lot of people are, but I think it helps the regular Hex the most actually.
Yeah, understood. What I found interesting was, when you look at GMX and then you look at how, what GMX did in a bear market, which is incredible. And the year is not even over yet. And then I look at institutional investors coming in and they're talking about DeFi. So even if they wanted to experiment in DeFi as they, seek to invest in new centralized exchanges that's on the up and coming, right? They just had one that that started. I can't remember the name of it. And within a year, it had already raised like $12 billion. Crazy, crazy. You know, I'm hoping that they would look at the tokenomics, because an institutional investor may look at heck a lot different than just, you know, somebody like myself, because they would be looking at it like, okay, based on the tokenomics, is this a good position to put a percent or 2% of this into that asset and then stake it, and then so they may build staking ladders with Hex. You know, that would be phenomenal for Hex, and that could happen because now you got institutional investors like BlackRock saying, hey man, even a DeFi lending protocol was the first one to shut the door on FTX. So they called in a loan. They were the first one to say this. These guys is in trouble. A DeFi lending protocol, and I can't remember the name of which one, but the fact that they point out it was DeFi, and then BlackRock say DeFi is something that we're taking a look at, and we understand it's in its early. It's still in its early phases. And I'm like, yo, BlackRock is saying that? Okay. I wonder if they can find Hex. If they do, it ain't nothing else. Like, I mean, just because it's not like, you know, all of the decentralized exchanges that's out there on Ethereum, right?
Yeah, well, big institutions, they're waiting for regulations. A lot of them are. Like, unfortunately, like a lot of regulations on Ethereum will allow big money to come in. So that's pretty much what they're waiting for to pour a lot of the money in. They're waiting for the regulations, and I don't think Pulsechain is going to have those regulations, at least at first, because nobody's going to really know what it is. But Ethereum is probably the next target for that. So I wouldn't be surprised if Ethereum got, they had some regulations on it in the next, like by the time the next bull market happens. Pulsechain probably won't have that because they're still trying to figure out like the bigger chains and stuff. But this is a new chain, so.
Roger that.
But in terms of EHEX, you're right. Now, big institute, like once it's regulated and stuff, yeah, that's
Oh
possible because Hex is on
exactly.
Ethereum.
We said we're on the same page, brother. We're on the same page.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
Yeah, we're on the same page. I'm just pointing out that hey, anything is possible. So so definitely, there's still going to be value in just having it on Ethereum because you still got the most users in all crypto is on Ethereum. So that's the best odds to get bought. But if they, when everything started rolling up on post, who knows what kind of players we have, in post.